people are delusional. It's like they're all mentally ill. You turn this country over to the fags. You did it aggressively, you did it proactively, you did it in 1,000 different ways.
I think it's safe to say that the Westboro Baptist Church has had more than a few controversies in their time. The Topeka, Kansas-based group has a well-earned reputation as America's most hateful group. The homophobic group stage highly public protests against any group that supports homosexuality. They also seem to enjoy protesting funerals of dead soldiers, which I think we can all agree is disgusting and vile. But hey, it's not just the gays they go after. They also attack other Christian denominations. They also attack Muslims and also the Jewish community as well. But who are they? Well, the Westboro Baptist Church are not affiliated with any Baptist church and is widely condemned for their inflammatory messages of hate. The church's beliefs do not match any of those Baptist beliefs. The group was founded in 1955 by Pastor Fred Phillips. Fred Phillips and his followers gained notoriety by their strong opposition to homosexuality, which became the central focus of the church's activities. The church gained national attention in the 1990s and the 2000s for picketing events of dead soldiers as well as children who had been murdered in mass shootings. They currently sit at about 70 members, and for a group with such a small number of members, it's amazing to me how they could have the loudest voices and how pretty much everyone around the world seems to know who they are. Now, thankfully, the loudness of their voices does not gain them any support at all. You pissed off God, you'll see what he's got. In terms of their belief system, they believe in limited atonement, unconditional election, and the double predestination of both the saved and the damned, which can weigh heavily on members as well as those who leave the church. According to Barrett Fox, they see moral living as a sign of election, and they say that they have a duty to preach to the public and not to save people, but to spread the message of obedience to God. Their belief in predestination means that they have the idea that only a select few can be saved. They believe that such events such as natural disasters and tragedies are manifestations of God's wrath against those they perceive as a sinful society, particularly those who accept or tolerate homosexuality. They are of course against abortion, gay marriage and divorce, and unsurprisingly they would also take everything in the Bible literally. When it comes to COVID, they actually believe that it was a direct attack of God's wrath for the disobedience of children as well as the other apparent sins we all partake in that God doesn't like, which is an absolute insane take in my opinion. They believe that it's their duty to preach the word of God and to condemn sinners, and that is the purpose of their lives. They first began protesting homosexuality in 1989 after the discovery of what they referred to as a tea room, which means a public laboratory that was used for homosexual interactions. The group later began picketing at Gage Park, which was 6 blocks northwest of the headquarters in Topeka in 1991, saying that it was a den of homosexual activity. So their way of thinking was like, we can't have these men fucking near the park. Now, as you can imagine, when these protests spread throughout the city, and within years they began basically traveling around the country, which they still do to this day. In 1994, Phelps, who, as I mentioned, was the creator of this ridiculous church, said that he considered the negative reaction to the picketing as proof of his righteousness, which is a level of arrogance and narcissism I've never seen from someone. Being gay to them is disgusting. The whole church is built around the ideology that homosexuality is wrong. And I don't know, I mean, you could argue that, in my opinion, a lot of people that are very homophobic, and I'm just saying, right, but a lot of people that are very homophobic, and they tend to be what some would call, closeted gays. Now, I cannot say for a fact whether Mr. Phillips was a closeted gay or not. He might have liked a little dick on the side. He may have. I can't prove it. There's no evidence of it. But usually when you're super homophobic, you like sucking dick. So I'm going to make that suggestion to the world, and you guys can agree or disagree on that one. I mean, if you look at their website, their fucking website is literally called godhatesfags.com. How that was even allowed to become a URL on a website, I will never understand. And according to this very website, they say the following: the Bible is clear that homosexuality is a sin in the eyes of God. It is not okay to be gay. Dale Phelps, who's the daughter of Phelps, said in an interview in 2011 that Other members of the Westboro Baptist Church tauntingly and publicly burned a copy of the Quran while being scolded by a Muslim man, calling it a piece of trash basically, and saying that they were giving it the proper respect it deserved. They also picketed the funeral of a Muslim man's wife the following week. Now, J.L. Phillips said that the wife's death was partly due to her Muslim husband having spoken out against the Westboro Baptist Church and therefore rejecting God and bringing his righteous judgment upon him. So these motherfuckers actually think that because the man attacked the Westboro Baptist Church for their hatefulness, their reaction was to burn the Quran. They actually genuinely believe that this man's wife died because God wasn't happy about how the Muslim man treated Westboro Baptist Church. I mean, that's a level of like fucking stupidness, and like it's so insane. Like it's so insane that they would even think that's the case. It's reported that the church actually spends annually around $200,000 on travel expenses and apparently $250,000 on picketing per year. In fact, on their website they have a full schedule for 2024, so at least they're consistently attacking people with their rhetoric. They have no mercy in terms of who or what they go after. They've gone after children who died in mass shootings. In 2016 they protested the funerals of the Orlando school shooting. In 2006 this is when their infamous signage became more and more apparent, when they picketed the funeral of a Matthew Seidner, who was a US Marine who was killed in Iraq. They used banners saying God hates fags and thank God for dead soldiers, which is absolutely fucking vile. On May 14th, 2008, 2 days after the 2008 earthquake in Sichuan, which claimed the lives of at least 70,000 people in China, the Westboro Baptist Church issued a press release thanking God for the heavy losses of life in China and praying that for many more earthquakes to kill many more thousands of impotent and ungrateful Chinese. That is insane. Like, they literally were happy that 70,000 people are dead and they actually want God to kill more. If that's not the definition of you deserving to go to hell, I don't know what is. I could go on and on. Like on May 8, 2009, members of the Westboro Baptist Church protested at 3 Jewish sites in Washington, D.C., including the Anti-Defamation League offices and the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum. On May 20, 2013, the Westboro Baptist Church tweeted praising God for the 2013 Moore tornado. And that's only to name a few. These guys will attack anybody. They don't give a shit. One of the most interesting things about the Westboro Baptist Church is kind of some of the legal challenges they've had to deal with, because in America, obviously, they believe in the First Amendment, which is the right to free speech, and they kind of seem to skirt the line between free speech and hateful speech. And there has been some, obviously some legal challenges for the church as a result, because they test the boundaries of free speech protections. Now, I'm not going to get into too much detail about all the different lawsuits because they've had a lot, but one thing I will say is that the Westboro Baptist Church has lost and has had to pay millions to victims of these protests. Most of these protests have been met with strong opposition from all walks of life, including counter-protests and efforts to shield mourners or event attendees from churches' messages. Like, many religious and non-religious groups have actively denounced what the Westboro Baptist Church does and its tactics. I would not condone violence in any shape or form, but the one thing I will say, I can understand the anger and the frustration and wanting to physically hurt the people that are spreading so much hate and pain towards people based off a completely misinterpreted understanding of what the Bible is. And it's just an example of how people will twist and turn the Bible in ways that will suit them, in ways that will make them feel righteous, in ways that will make them feel like their hatefulness is justified. And they believe that God literally hates us as a species, and that we should be like praying every day and be thankful to be alive, but we're going to hell anyway. It's insanity. Now, amusingly and thankfully, in 2014, Fred Phillips died of natural causes at the age of 84. Now, reportedly, he actually had dementia in his final year, and his own church believed he was being condemned by God. Like, that is beautifully ironic. Like, imagine you created this church, purely created off hate, that you created is using your own belief system against you. They literally think that he got dementia from God because he was changing or he just was going against what God wanted. And when he died, they didn't give him a funeral, they just cremated him and they put him in an unmarked grave. But I do want to say, Mr. Fred Phillips, if you are somehow able to see this from hell, I hope you are rotting in hell. And I hope you spend eternity in hell. And you're the reason why I hope there is a hell. Now, unfortunately, I'm not someone who believes in God or hell, but I sincerely hope that you and every single one of your congregation spend a eternity rotting in hell. But one thing I do want to say is I would feel bad for the younger generations of the Westboro Baptist Church who are brought up with this hateful teaching, because when you're young and you're vulnerable, you absorb all this hate, you're going to become a believer in it, and unfortunately a lot of that generation will grow up to be hateful. And I would feel sorry for them, and I hope that they can find a way to get out and see that they don't need to use God as a way to be hateful or spiteful. I just want to conclude with, like, I didn't cover a huge amount when it comes to this church because I actually think they're vile and disgusting, and I don't want to give them too much attention. But they're probably the most disgusting religious group I've come across in terms of just pure hate, and the fact that they think that God isn't loving and that you deserve to go to hell, and that your duty as a human being in life is to just spread hate and make sure that people who are different to you know that they're not loved and God rejects them. This group of people are the most disgusting, vile, horrible group I've ever researched, and I wish them nothing but bad luck. I wish them nothing but torment. Them. They promoted admiration and joy towards any sort of human suffering in terms of natural disasters or diseases, because they considered it all a reaction to God's wrath. And I like to think if there is a God, he would condemn this group. He would not be happy with the messages they're spreading. Hopefully in a couple of generations they'll just die off as an ideology. And I think the best way to deal with this community is to just actually ignore them. Don't give them the attention they so sincerely crave, and let them justify their own internal anger and hatred and spite towards people they don't understand, people that are different to them, because it's such a primitive way of thinking. I like to think if there is a God, God is loving. But hey, look, what do I know? I'm not religious. So that's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. This is the stuff I found the most interesting about the group that I wanted to share. You know, you should check out Louis Theroux. About 10 years ago, I want to say, he did really good documentary and where he followed the Westboro Baptist Church. It was where I did a lot of my research for this as well, and you should check that out. It's very, very good. But yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Please, as always, if you can, like, share and subscribe. It's very much appreciated. The numbers are still growing slowly over time, but we're getting there. But yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Peace out.